Welcome to the Monday Monologue. Well, today we're going to talk about YouTube in general for a minute and the differences between like a small channel like mine and some of these bigger channels that are out there. And even in the audio world, there aren't any really what I consider monster YouTube channels that have millions of views on every video and that kind of thing. There's a lot of these monster channels that are like in automotive and some other fashion and stuff, but this is never going to be a monster channel, and I realize that. And there's pros and cons to being one or the other. And the pro to a small channel like mine is it can be done with one person. I don't have any employees. I'm never going to have any employees. Even with my business in building stuff for sale, I'm just going to build stuff that I have time to build myself, because getting employees not only requires a real dedication from the business standpoint of it, and the bookkeeping and dealing with matching their Social Security and payroll taxes and all that kind of stuff. You're responsible for other people's lives and their well-being. And I'm not going to turn this into that where I have that stress on top of me of making well-performing videos. And I think some channels get boxed in. Like if I just went off of what videos are popular, which ones get a lot of views, it's reviewing China hi-fi gear. You know, just hands down, those get more views than anything. And for some reason, talking about preamps gets people all excited too, which I don't even use a preamp in my system except with my KT120 mono blocks because they need a preamp. So you don't see a lot of preamp content. I love building integrated tube amps or power amps, not doing that other stuff. So one of the cons to having a really big YouTube channel beyond the employees is you get kind of boxed into the content that you can make and focus on. And I see this on a lot of channels. They start down some path, they find a video format that gets a lot of views, and because they have to make money because they're either paying for employees or they're renting an office space or a warehouse or something that they're doing their content, or they're buying expensive cars or expensive audio gear to showcase, that then they're forced to do what's popular instead of the content that they want to do. And like, I'm pretty sure a video series about building an amp with these 70-year-old output transformers probably isn't going to be a big performer. And yes, I heard you loud and clear, and I agree. I'm going to leave the patina on these. As you can see, they look really nice. There's a little bit of scratching on the top, but they're mostly really nice shape. Okay, squirrel, I'm going off in a direction. But anyway, so I can do that. Or I can, hey, I'm going to work on this musical paradise and got some output transformers so I can move back to that project. And I can jump around and do whatever I want as far as producing content. And I want to be careful about my business model too, where I don't get bogged down into just sitting around building amps all day for other people and not being able to experiment and venture off into doing other stuff. And so I guess the pros of having a big YouTube channel is you can make a lot of money. And I'm not here trying to make a lot of money. And I'm not. Trust me. I mean, I make more money selling the few amps that I've sold than I've done off YouTube for the whole year. But I enjoy making YouTube videos. And I also enjoy sharing my learned knowledge about this stuff with you guys. And so I did some videos recently on some of this Class D electronic stuff, which honestly I know nothing about. And of course, a couple of people had to come on the comments and berate me for not being an expert on Class D gear. And honestly, go ahead. You can light me up in the comments if you want. I mean, there's one guy I had to ban because he just got like ridiculous. But the reason that I've been doing content about these is I'm looking for some budget audio gear for you guys to listen to. And I know my channel up till now has been super focused on tube amps and tube gear, and it still will be going forward. But I want to investigate these things and try to learn a little bit about how they work. I honestly haven't even figured out still how to test these. The audio analyzer suite, I got this board here from a viewer that separates the grounds, and I was able to measure the frequency response and was able to make the THD versus frequency produce something, but then I couldn't get the THD versus power to work. I don't know what I'm doing wrong, but anyway, and thanks to the viewer for sending this little board. This thing works awesome. He's also sending one with attenuator switches on it, and he's making me another one. He was talking about that will work with these phono stages, so we can test those. So that's kind of cool. But once he gets this solidified, he's going to send me the PC board file and the BOM for the handful of parts that are on it, so you can build one of these for yourself. And it's like, I mean, it looks like it came from, you know, Analog Discovery. It's a super nice little board. Anyway, back to these Class D amps. The AYIMA folks, I guess they thought my other video where I was just saying that I thought that A07 Max or whatever the name was of that other one, the little tiny one, they were pleased enough with my review where they sent me one of these A70s, which to me looks like a much nicer product. And hopefully this sounds more hi-fi-ish. The other one to me is, while it played music and while it may test well as far as the distortion, it just wasn't fun to listen to. And people ask me, like, what is your goal with building stuff? Or like, when are you happy with an amp? It's fun to listen to. And some of it I can't describe or even measure very well. I just know it when I hear it. And sometimes it's just you get a certain mix of tubes, or you know, you change a capacitor, or you change a resistor value a little bit, and it hits that spot where it's got enough holographic kind of sound, or that audio VR I call it, and it's got spunk, and it's got a bass punch, and it's got the stuff you need to really enjoy listening to music that's mastered well. And I've talked about that before, how if a song or some music has garbage mastering, I don't think you can listen to it as high fidelity music. You can still listen to it as music and enjoy it, but it's not going to have that sound that really well mastered and recorded stuff is. And that was why, like that Leonard Skinner album, Pronounced, their first one, that I was struggling with trying to find a good mastered vinyl, because I love the music and it's fun to listen to, but some of the pressings of that are just really bad, and it takes away the enjoyment of it. And I can still enjoy the music, but it doesn't have that high fidelity, you know, that gives you goosebumps when you listen to it. And I think that's what we're trying to do on this channel. And again, that little smaller chip amp just didn't do that for me. And I know people in the comments were like, oh, you need to put it in mono, and I've got two of those, and they sound like a $3,000 amplifier. Hey, guys, they don't. But, you know, for $70, they're great. So in that vein, one of the viewers talked about a Sparco's discrete op amp and how much that improves the sound of these. And got an email from the guy. So called him up on Sunday and we talked for about 2 hours about audio gear. Super fun guy to talk with. And he's going to send me a couple of his op amps to put in. Probably going to put it in this one, but I need to listen to it. I haven't even unboxed this yet. I need to listen to this guy and see which one of those two bass line sounds better, and then look inside them and see if they've got the same op amp. And if they do, I'll pick whichever one of these sounds better to put his in, and then report back to you guys what that does for these things. I mean, I'm hoping that I can find a under $500 price point amplifier, be it tube or solid state or whatever, that hits that really good sound without having to go to some vintage receiver that probably needs a bunch of work too. I mean, that's one thing people don't think about. You get one of those, Marantz receivers from 1970s. That's a 50-year-old amp that's going to need to be recapped and going to need work done to it. And yeah, that's not really a great option for folks that aren't DIYers. So that's one of the reasons I've been looking into these, but we're not going to turn into a solid state Class D kind of reviewing channel. So for you guys that were worried about that, that's not happening. Got this sitting here because I got a batch of these chassis powder coated. You can see I've got one of these boards filled out. I've got probably half a dozen people still waiting on their phono stages. And so I'm going to get building on those. Y'all should get those soon. I built the last of the EL34 tube amps that I had special ordered and got that out earlier this week. And so we're done with that for a while. I'm going to take a little break from building those amps, or maybe build some to build up a stock before I start selling them again. And I want to do the same with these phono stages. I want to get the orders filled that I've got and then work on some other stuff for a little while. Because like I said, this has got to be fun. The only reason I'm doing this is because I enjoy it. And if it's getting repetitive or getting just to the point where I'm not enjoying this, then I'm going to make a shift in what I'm doing. So excited about building this amp. I've got the Musical Paradise that I got some output transformers for now. I'm going to go over how I choose an output transformer, finish up that circuit and try to get that project off my plate. I've got some 2A3 amps that somebody sent me that I'm going to get working on doing some thermal upgrades to. The amps themselves work great, but I think there's some thermal design issues with it to make them where they're reliable long term. And I'm going to go through and show you what I feel like were poor design choices on the layout and the thermal management, and show you how I'm going to fix that. And yeah, those are kind of my short-term goals, is to get those two things done. And then I want to work on these Acrosound ultralinear transformer amp. I do have a KT88 integrated that I got to build for one of my customers, which is going to be kind of that blue glow thing. I've built one before. I know how good they sound. I think it'll be perfect for what he wants. So if you're watching, don't think I'm saying I forgot about your amp. You don't need to email me. I will get on that, but it's probably going to be the end of the summer before that's done. And then I do have these chassis here to do the KT88 monoblocks. And I'm going to be doing some more tube reviews. Got some of those in from PS Vane. Got some more Horizon tubes. Got some KT150s. They're still working out the design issues on the 5AR4s. And I told the lady, it's like, keep going at it until those are bomb-proof. Because if you can make a bomb-proof rectifier tube, you'll sell them faster than you can make them. Because there's not any competition on the market, really, for one that's like the new old stock ones. So, they're working on that. I am enjoying these relationships that I'm developing with certain folks like Tubes USA. George Lentz has been awesome. We have conversations every couple of weeks. It's just enjoyable talking to these folks. He shares the same passion I do with audio. He just sent me some pictures of some push-pull amps he built, which look really fun. And again, I want to keep this YouTube thing kind of going on a low-key basis. I'm never planning on this channel having like 400k subs. I know that's never going to happen, but we're a few subs shy of 14k. So if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe and help me get over 14k. That'll be a cool little benchmark to make this week. And another thing that I've thought about doing is like a Q&A video, and maybe put a questionnaire on my website where you guys can go like ask questions, and then on a video I can go through and answer questions for you guys or things that y'all have questions about. So that might be a fun little thing to do. And I don't think I'm ever going to do like live stream type videos. I know some folks like doing those and Q&A things live, but yeah, that's a very different thing. And I think you almost got to have someone with you to moderate the comments, because obviously people can get stupid, the comments can get crazy, and then I've got someone else here doing this, and I'm not just doing this on my own, so that's probably not something we're ever going to do. Let me know in the comments what you think about this whole thing with these big YouTube channels or small YouTube channels, and which one you prefer watching and why. It might help me kind of understand like what you guys like about this channel, and then also like what you want to see. Like, is there some different content that you would like to see on the channel besides, because honestly these build videos don't get a lot of views, but people like them, and I don't want to cut that content out just because they don't get a ton of views. And honestly, I don't want to turn this into just like a review channel, even though those do seem to get a lot of views. That's not something that I, set out to do on this channel. And so, yeah, let me know in the comments maybe some ideas for some fun videos. The other thing, too, we're going to try soon is I'm going to do an interview with Andrew Spark, the owner of Sparkos, the guys that's making these discrete op amps and some other stuff. He's got like headphone amps and some other products. I'll put a link to his website below. But going to do a maybe 20-minute video interview and maybe get some info about like how those op amps work and what he's doing impacts the sound and all that stuff. And probably going to do that after I experiment with them and see what I think of the way they sound. So I think that's going to be it for this week. Hope you've enjoyed this video. If you enjoy my content in this channel, please subscribe. Please like the video. Thanks to all you Patreon supporters. Especially thanks to you folks that make donations at my website when you find content useful. You guys are just so generous. It just shocks me. And I do love getting vinyl. I was going to do some music recommendations this week, but we'll save that for next week. And we'll see you next week for the Monday Monologue.